What's up? This is Jonathan Smith, your host here at Shooting the Shmitt. Thank you so much for tuning in to the video. New channel. Basically, the goal is I'm going to try and give you a take a day. Right? So, obviously, right now, March Madness is going on. This is the big deal. Last night, Fairleigh Dickinson upsets Purdue. Second time ever that a 1 seed has lost to a 16 seed. Day 2 is going on right now. I got Furman actually going on in the background. So, if you see me look up, that's why. Anyway. So, my fiance graduated from Purdue. Her entire family did. And because of that, whenever I would go over there, or do go over there, Purdue is just always on TV. I've seen a lot of Purdue this year. Not surprising at all that they lost last night. Not surprising that the Big Ten in general doesn't do well in the tournament. Now, well, Jonathan, why? Like the Big Ten is traditionally one of the 2 or 3 best conferences in the country. They're a little bit down this year. What is it about the Big Ten? What is it about Purdue last night that results in them not performing well in the NCAA tournament and results in Purdue, a 1 seed, losing to one of the worst teams we've ever seen make the tournament, a team that didn't even win their conference championship? They got in because the other team that actually won their conference championship is in the process of transitioning from Division II to Division I, so they weren't eligible. Fairleigh Dickinson didn't even win their conference championship game, yet they made it in on a technicality, and they beat one of the best regular season teams from this season. How does that happen? First of all, the top teams in college basketball this year, the gap isn't as big as normal. Okay, I was watching College Game Day the other day, and someone said it really well. Usually whenever we enter March Madness, there's somewhere between 8 and 10 teams who are good enough to win the national championship game. This year, there's like 24. There are so many teams that are good enough to win it all, not because teams are better than normal, but because the top teams aren't as good as normal. And we saw that with Purdue last night. Now, if you watched Purdue during the regular season, you didn't even have to. You didn't even have to watch them, consistently. You could have just watched one game. And it would become very apparent very quickly how Zack Edey is or was the engine that made that train run. He was their entire offense all year long. Okay, it was bring the ball up the floor, either a screen and roll, and really the screen and roll is just designed for them to get a switch, hoping that they can get an even smaller defender on Zack Edey. So either that would happen, or he just run down, preferably to the left block so he could turn inside and shoot the little hook shot with his right hand. That's the offense. And if they doubled, Zack Edey is a good enough passer to pass out of the double team. It helps when you're 7'4" because you can see over everybody. He was good enough to look over the defense, find the open shooter, skip pass across, and then guys usually hit threes. They didn't make threes last night. They were 4 of 25? I haven't looked at the numbers. But it was really bad. It was horrendous. There's no way that they shot over 25% from 3. And that is ultimately why they lost the game last night. Okay, people are talking about Painter and how he's not a good coach and blah 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 blah, and he didn't do this, he didn't do that, he didn't make adjustments. He didn't have to make adjustments. FDU basically said, Purdue, if you make 30% of your 3-point attempts, you guys will win this basketball game handily. And they didn't. Purdue flat out choked. Flat out choked. Open shot after open shot after open shot. They couldn't hit their threes. They couldn't do it. I don't know why. They showed up tight, right? You've got freshman guards who haven't played in the tournament. And we saw that with the turnovers. Braden Smith, love him. Love his game so much. But man, his youth really showed in just how often he turned the ball over. And Fletcher Lawyer is really another freshman who turned the ball over. Zack Edey turned the ball over. FDU sped Purdue up the entire game with their press and their relentless pressure on the ball. And I think that's why Purdue missed so many shots. Because you catch the ball and you just know you've got a dude running at you. And that just speeds you up and it causes you to miss shots. It causes you to move too quickly. We saw that on some of the turnovers when Edwards got a pass from Braden Smith, and it just went through his hands and hit him in the face. And you look up, and FDU is getting a layup. They sped Purdue up. It led to a lot of missed shots that Purdue usually doesn't miss. We even saw that from Zack Edey. He didn't make a hook shot the entire game because he knew as soon as he caught the ball, there's at least one other guy coming. Sometimes there were two. They sped Purdue up, put a lot of pressure on them, and Purdue just couldn't live up to it. Finally, on top of that, when we look at Purdue, the last thing that I noticed and just kind of realized, when you were pressed and you were required to play at a quicker pace than you want to, and you're running up and down the floor, and there's loose balls and guys are diving, and which happened multiple times during the game, and you only play 8 guys, which is how many Purdue plays. Sometimes it'll be 9, most times it's 8. And you're constantly running up and down the floor, and you're forced to play at a pace quicker than you normally do, you run out of gas. And the longer the game went, and it was close, the more you liked FDU's chances of winning. Not just because when you're the 1 seed and it's close at the end, like you tighten up because all the pressure's on you, and the 16 seed gains confidence as the game goes on. Do those things happen? Yes, they do. Did that play a factor? Probably. But if you go back and you watch the last 4 minutes of that game, all of Purdue's misses were short because they're playing at a quicker pace than normal. They were tired. They were tired, and nobody wanted to take the shot. No one wanted to. Wide open threes. Mason Gillis, I don't want to shoot this. I'm 1 for 6. Somebody else, here you go. Oh man, I'm 1 for 5. Here you go, Fletcher. You're like 2 of 7. Here you go. Nobody wanted to take the shot. They were sped up, and they just played at a way faster pace than they wanted to. FDU, the coaching was great. They doubled Zack Edey off the ball. They would front him, and they bring a guy from the weak side to defend from behind so that they couldn't lob it over the top. And Purdue's spacing, they had such bad spacing. I mean, it was incredible. It's incredible. It's the best. It's the biggest upset in the history of college basketball. So that's going to do it here at Shooting the Shmitt. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. I mean, I'm planning on hopefully doing another one tomorrow. Hopefully there's another big upset. We'll see how it goes. Once again, thank you so much for watching this video. I'll talk to you all tomorrow.